Good morning, lovely friends. How are you all doing today? I do hope you're well. I'm boiling. I'm absolutely dripping with sweat already. It's coming up for 9 o'clock on the 1st of June. I've been down here for an hour or so to do a load of watering. And honestly, it's so warm. My shed thermometer says that we're nearly 30 degrees C, which is 86 Fahrenheit. It's not quite as warm as that outside because there's a breeze. It may get that way later today. Goodness me, what a contrast to May. I'm going to keep this brief. We're going to get on with the tour. But just to say, I've been saying for the whole of May, the May tour I filmed 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks and a couple of days ago. And I was saying at that time that I felt really behind. And a lot of my friends are saying they feel behind too, but they feel behind in a different way to me. A lot of people feel behind because their plants aren't growing. And it's simply because, May was cold for May. You know, we had a lot of days that were 10, 12 degrees, which is barely 50 Fahrenheit. You know, things just weren't getting going. We had all that rain, which was great. But things just weren't doing anything. I feel behind in a different way. And I'm kind of just warning you. There's no kind of sort of like revelation before and after moment when we go out there. I feel behind because basically I missed all that spring preparation. I missed a bit in winter, but basically I've missed March and April to get things going in the garden, or to do all that prep work of the bed prep, just getting the beds ready, structures ready, that sort of thing. It's never happened to me before where I've been this late with those things. I might talk about this a little bit in a separate video because it was really bothering me last night, and I made a bit of a list and it turned into something else that I'm going to hopefully apply next year. Anyway, so the point is, we're now warm, great. Things, normally at this stage in the year, I would have pretty much everything planted, structures up, and now my job for the next few weeks would just be watering, weeding, tying in, training, that sort of thing. I'm not at that stage yet. But I'm not defeated either. Really, really, really pushing it this year, but I'm not defeated. So come on, let's have a little walk around the garden. I'll show you where I'm up to at the moment. And as we go, just point out what I'm hoping to get done over the next, probably, I'd like to get everything done in the next week. Realistically, it will be 2 weeks just because I've got other stuff on and also body rest time between garden sessions. Anyway, never mind what's going to happen. Let's see what has happened. There's no doubt about it. There are building works going on everywhere. Oh, let's just get on anyway. So at first glance, you know, it might not look like huge changes, but when we look really closely, there are. So there's the whole garden at the beginning of June. Let's have a closer look. And we're going to have shadow issues because it's such a bright sunny morning, but we don't care because the sunshine is lovely. The poached eggs. Can you hear that? It's an almost constant buzz of bees in there. Oh, they do love it. And for that reason, so do I. Well, apart from the fact that they're blooming cheerful, aren't they? The tree lily. Now, what I can't decide is, oh no, that's been snapped. I found my sign off this morning. Oh no. Oh, never mind. They're a bit shorter at this stage than they normally are. They would normally be up another foot. I'm going to put that down to the cold May. It also might be just from disturbing them this winter. Oh, I'm gutted I've lost that tip. My plot sign, it was hanging off the chain this morning. I don't know why. Anyway, never mind. It's not a vegetable. It doesn't matter. What does matter? Yay! Yay for parsnips. So at this end, well, you can see like zero germination, loads, clumps. It's always the way, isn't it? And then I got another clump here, and then poor germination there. They may come. I'm just chuffed to have some at all. Now the thing with parsnips is we are after the root. That's what we're eating. That's what the parsnip is. So they really don't do well for being transplanted. Get a gnarly, twisty, forky, horrid root. I've tried it in the past. It just wasn't worth it. But I'm very, very, very happy to see these little ones. I will, of course, need to start thinking about thinning. It's always a bit of a heartbreaker, isn't it, to thin where you've got clumps and then there's nothing in other areas. Never mind. Calendula, as always, going for it. Such a robust little plant. Now, you can see no water here. This is where I'm going to do a successional sowing of my rocking core in a couple of weeks' time. But in the first row, yay, one up. Oh, another one just coming over there. Really hard to see at the moment, but yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my goodness. I hope some more start to show. And next door to them, really hard to see at the moment because they're tiny. Let me see if I can bring them in really close. The first chickpeas. Can you just make them out through there? Oh, here's one that would be easier to show you. Oh, lovely. That is a self-seeded calendula that can come out. I don't want it to compete. So yeah, they're really, really hard to spot at the moment. But it looks like, 3 or 4 or 5 germinated in each row. They're so tiny at the moment that what I'm thinking and hoping is that the others will be along soon, this week maybe, now that we've got heat. Now, at the top end, a little bit of a mishmash. I've got the lovely Cove Tronchuda, Portuguese cabbage from Paul. I've been saying all along that this was a cutting from Paul. I was wrong. It was actually from seed. So that'll get good and big and tall. And then underneath, I've just popped in 6 spare orange bell peppers. Because now, watch your step, Vivi. I don't want you to disturb the bees. Watch your step and watch your shadow. So now, the end of this bed is planted up with its 4 rows, sorry Vic, 4 rows, 5 in each row, so there's 20 there, 26 in total. And I've given the spares away now, so these are jolly well better survive. As I mentioned earlier in the year, I've previously grown these in one long thin line in front of the cukes, but the Verheozen, the paprika peppers, I grew in a clump like this last year and they did really well. So I thought, yes, maybe they do want to be close together. So they're planted about, they're about 15 centimetres apart within the row and about 15, maybe 20 centimetres between the row. So they really are packed in there. But I have high hopes for them. Next, you might remember a couple of weeks ago, this I seeded with 1, 2, 3 somewhere rows of beetroots, and they're just starting to come up again. These will need thinning, and by way of thinning, I'll take the thinnings home and eat them. next door to them, also 3 rows of my spinach. This is a sort of not perpetual spinach as such, but it's one of those sort of longer, yeah, is it perpetual they call it? Not perennial, perpetual spinach. So they'll do me well. Yes, things are really hard to see at the moment, but they are there. Under the rest of the tunnel, that isn't watered because it's not seeded. That's where I'm going to put the chard that I started in the cells. They're on the deck. I'll show you those in a tick. Just stepping my way out. I've snagged my back a bit this morning, so I'm a bit tentative in my movement. Yay! This is the Charlotte. These are my earlies, my salad potatoes. They've now been earthed a couple of times. So if you remember, the ridge of soil was in the middle and these were down a bit. Gradually that ridge of soil has been brought over to earth them. Exactly like I've done for my main crops. These are my Cara. These have been earthed about 3 times now. You can see where that ridge was in the middle. There's quite a hollow developing there. Anyway, so far so good, I'm pleased with those. Now, I haven't watered the potatoes because just on that word of watering, in the areas that I have watered today, I've watered because I've shoved my hand in the soil, and a combination of sun, heat, lack of rain and wind means that we're dry in about the top 2 to 3 inches. So everything that's been watered is all the stuff where they've got really shallow roots. The spuds, on the other hand, deep down where they are, because where the level of the grass is, remember where I've planted them, it's another 8 inches down. Plenty of moisture down there from all that rain in May. Right, the garlic, excuse me. So you saw me have a few out to create my black fly. Oh, I've forgotten to bring it down with me. I meant to bring my black fly spray. So the rest of these, you can see they've all flopped over, which is telling me they're ready for harvest anyway. But because of the white rot, yes, they're all coming out. Goodness knows when. I need to find an extra day. And then the potatoes that got forgotten last summer, I'll get a little surprise harvest. This bed is going to take my celery. The celery is currently sitting outside the shed where it's, just because they're so fragile still, I've just kept them at the shed because it's a bit more shady for them there. I worry if I bring them out into this sunlight at the moment, they'll just be fried. They've just not got enough substance to them to withstand this heat and brightness. So they'll come in here. I've sowed 2 rows of fennel here, nothing showing. And I'm going to do a succession after the longest day, 2 more rows here. And now I'm having a carrot disaster again. 4 rows of carrots. Let me see if I can find it again. Spot the single carrot. I mean, really? What is going on? Yeah, slightly paranoia making. Now, literally every friend I've spoken to on site, they've sowed carrots at different times to me. Some have sown a week or 2 earlier, some have sown a week or 2 later. These were sown 5 weeks ago. And like everyone else on my site, no one has got any carrots. Yeah, I'm just going to scratch this soil up, scatter sow some, just scratchy, rake it in, hope for the best, and then if nothing happens, well, I'll have another brassica bed. But it's so frustrating because I do really enjoy my carrots in winter, and I've never had problems growing carrots before last year. I've always had fantastic carrot harvests, so I'm a bit ticked off, if I'm honest. Never mind. Down at the end here, do you remember I did my Alice Fowler style sewing? direct sowing of leeks. They're finally up. Again, really hard to see at this stage, but all 3 rows have some germination in, and I will use those as a summer veg. Just let them fatten up a bit. They'll be lovely. Both lots of onions are doing great. So here, this is the 5 rows of white onions, 4 rows of red. The red onions are Red Baron. Yeah, they look grand, don't they? Actually, it's a very pleasing sight, isn't it? With the light on them this morning like this. Yay! And then I've got, in the whites, I've got 2 rows of Stuttgart that the lovely Tony S sent to me. And then this one, I keep having to read it. Cupido. Never tried these before, but I couldn't get my usual jet set. Yeah, but they look fine. What I do need to do is, you'll see this all over the garden today. Actually, I didn't show you right in the tops of these paths. Cosmos has self-seeded in the path. You'll see all through my paths. This is all self-seeded calendula. In the beds, I've got self-seeded nasturtium. And as I think I mentioned previously, they don't bother me. All I do is pull them out if they're somewhere that I don't want them to be. With onions, oh, nice breeze. With onions, I definitely don't want them to be in there because, yeah, onions just don't like fighting with anything else. Now, see these little sticks? No, these aren't the support frames. I still haven't built the support frames, but I thought, goodness me, Vivi, get some sowing done. Obviously, I've sowed all my climbing beans in pots just to try and get something going. But I've also now direct sown. This side it's all Gigantis, and this side it's all Coco Sophie. So hopefully between the pot sowings and the direct sowings, I'll get something. Oh, please, Lord, let me get something. This bed, well, you can see, still, this is my very last bed to tackle. Tomato bed. This is also going to be a tomato bed. In the trays here, they really don't need to be in the cold frame anymore. I have got 2 trays with 3, 6, 9 in each, which is a little bit more than I need. But which one's this one? So this tray is Amish paste. That tray is Rose de Berne. They're going to be going in this bed. I was hoping to get them in by now, but actually because I've got to dig this bed out and I may fall over when I'm doing it, I thought I'd hold off planting these. So when I come to dig this bed out, I'll actually move these 2 trays right out of the way, so that if when I'm working here I fall over, at least I won't crush my tomato babies, my hard-won tomato babies. So this bed is sort of ready to go with the tomatoes into it. The front bed will be all for Gardener's Delight. This bed, you can see these are my... how are you coping with this sunshine, little ones? This is all my cucumbers, and they will go in a row all along here, going backwards. So what I will do is I will build a frame which will start on the back. There'll be posts here which will slant backwards. Then there'll be almost like a ladder. Cucumbers planted in front because that is south. So we get all the sun this way. Get those in and let them scramble away. On the end here is the Fair Ozen, the paprika type pepper, again sown in a block so that they can hopefully encourage each other to produce. Oh, you're right, little ones. Everything's looking a little bit transplant shocky at the moment and a bit sunshine shocky. They've had a really good water though, so this should be okay, I hope. Now, slight change of plan on this end. That's the solitary celery left. I think last time you saw this bed it was full of celery still and dregs of fennel. So that's one I'm keeping for seed saving. So this is bed number 3. This is bed number 4. I was going to have bed number 4 for my teepees, bed number 3 for my horizontal squash. I've changed. This is now going to, bed number 3 is now going to be the teepees. That's going to be the horizontal, because trying to get these 3 beds prepped the other day, well, over the last few days, has been absolutely hideous. And I don't think I'm going to be able to manage to get all the wood that I use for my teepees. I just don't think I'm going to be able to get it into the ground. So, over the last 4 or 5 years, I have added compost, I've mulched. These beds have had a lot of matter added, these 3 beds. The thing is, when I came to do the prep in these last few days, this ground, this soil is unbelievably wet, heavy, sticky. It's just, in places, it's like pure clay still. You wouldn't think I'd added anything. So my theory about that is that when I got this allotment, let us say over the last 8-9 years, these are the first 2, bed number 1 and bed number 2, were the first beds that I ever got, properly on top of, organised with. So over the years, every year they've had organic matter added. Gradually, I opened up this bed maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago. So this one, you can probably see from the soil, this one is a little bit heavier than these 2. This final bed, I only got it opened properly about 5 years ago. It was all couch grass, raspberry runners, blackberry runners. It was a snarly, gnarly mess. And the garden ever so slightly slopes this way. So I think I end up with a lot of water at this end of the garden. It's just this. If you're on my Facebook, you'll know that this was the bed that did for me the other day. I have never done a bed prep, got halfway and given up and gone home. But I did. It was heartbreaking. Anyway, what that makes me realise is I need to really focus the mulches, the compost, organic matter. I really need to focus it on these beds now. If it's a choice between doing these and another bed, give it to these beds, because I really, really don't want to go through that again. It was horrible. So I'm going to have horizontal squash on these beds. When I make holes to plant them into, I hope, can you get a sense? And it's like rubble. It is like rubble. Just these great, it's like stones. So when I make holes to plant the squash into, I'm going to have to get some compost to fill the hole with, because otherwise their roots will be just dangling in midair. So that's what I decided for these 2 beds, horizontal. Likewise this, and actually I got to the stage where I thought, I'm not even going to try and turn this bed. I just really, really couldn't manage. So what I've done is just here and here, where I'm going to have a couple of squash, I did try and fork that a little bit just to get in, because if I hadn't done that forking, when it comes to actually planting a plant in there, I wouldn't even be able to get a plant in there. It's ridiculous. So I think that's a good solution. Again, compost, mulch, whatever I can get my hands on, get it onto this bed as soon as I can, and then come the autumn, try and turn it in a bit, try and incorporate it. Because everyone says, let the worms do the work. Well, the worms are being lazy and they're not doing the work, so I will. A little bit of planting on the end though. That is a spare courgette from a friend. Yay! It's a green one, I believe. Now this crazy net arrangement, I just put this here as a bit of a windbreak because I just planted out the this is my du long de londe peppers, which are a little bit less robust than my other two varieties, and we were getting quite a lot of blow the other day, so I thought, yeah, just this little bit of wind protection by way of the nets, a bit of a windbreak. Let them just have a week or two to get their roots into their new surroundings, get over that transplant shock, and then I'll remove all of that. In these tunnels, if you remember, I direct sowed my coco de Pambol 10 days ago, and I've just noticed, can we see it through the mesh? Yes, so there's one. Oh my goodness, this year it's definitely going to be the year of counting every single germinator. There's another. You can see there's a couple more breaking through. Oh, thank goodness for that. And now I know my seed isn't dud, because all the seed that I shared via my shop that a lot of you have had, those of you who've reported back to me have reported 100% germination, which is what I would expect. The difference is you guys have been starting yours in pots and your polytunnels, etc. Oh, fingers crossed. We had a good look at the broad beans the other day. Shan't linger on them today, except to say, coming down, podtastic. Yeah, I reckon I'm a couple of weeks away, and then I can really, really start to get my teeth into them. Oh, I've got to say, the last few days, the herb bed has been cheering me up no end. When I was getting completely down in the dumps about these two beds, honestly, I can't even begin to tell you how I could have cried, honestly. When it was all getting too much, I've come over into the herb bed for a bit of tinker time. The English lavender on this side is looking beautiful, absolutely full of brand new flower spikes. Look at them. And of course, I've got little pockets of chives throughout. The hyssop is a beautiful green at this time of year. The bergamot actually looks like it might do something this year, having not done anything for 2 years. The sedums that Paul gave me come the other way, Shadow, are really romping away in the trough here. Freesia flowers, oh, isn't that beautiful? And look, more to come in this purple. I can't really smell them, but I have to say I haven't been actually right down on my knees to try and smell. Self-seeded chamomile. Oh, pretty, pretty things. The French lavender up this side. One of the jobs I did the other day when when the garden was thwarting me was to try and have a really good prune of it. It is really straggly in places though. This clump, not too bad. The one next to it, up there, they really, really don't like our English winters. I keep thinking about pulling them out and replacing them with something else, but I feel cruel to do that because they are trying. The peppermint is looking fine now it's in its new pot. Tree lilies behind, getting away. Oh yeah, this little clump of chives is so pleasing. Oh, isn't that gorgeous? Hey bee. Is that yummy? Oh yeah. Feast away, little one. Feast away. As you can see, the cold frame is massively emptying now. Mostly in here now it's the various squash to go out. Just bits and bobs of dregs. That is a whole tray of Gardener's Delight, which will be spare to me. I'm keeping them going though because I think we're going to have a plant swap. Just coming around talking of Gardener's Delight. The other 2 trays, which I think I've got 20 here, that's all Gardener's Delight. Oh yeah, they're fine. They are waiting to be planted out, of course. No sign of any beans. Oh, just before we go any further, I wonder if you'll be able to get a sense of it. Look at all the fruit. Masses and masses and masses of fruit. Oh, it's going to be abundant this year with the blueberry. Yum, yum, yum. I'm chuffed. They're both really, really laden. Yay! The crocosmia is starting to go for it. Fabulous. And look at that verbena at the back. It's a monster. I might have to divide it in its first year. Goodness me. Yeah, no sign of any of the beans. Brassicas desperately need pricking out now. This first one, this is all kale. Yes, must prick. Because the kale, for example, will go into the bed that I empty of broad beans. Slightly oversowed the chard, but again, I can give away clumps of that to other folk on site. And also, I can use them to plug gaps. You know, like it looks like I'm not going to have any carrots. Fine, let's plug the gaps with chard. And I can always swap my chard with other folk. If they don't have chard and they've got carrots, they might want to do a swapsy. Oh, I just spotted this freesia as well. Another, you're not going to see in this light, another purple one. Beautiful. And the sweet peas are finally up and away. Remember 3 weeks ago they weren't even at the first rung, as it were. Oh, gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeousness. So, there we are. The garden at the beginning of June, looking very not like my garden normally does at this time of year. No bean poles up, no hardly any beans sown, no teepees up, no tomatoes are out, no squash are out, no cucumbers planted, no cucumber frame. I could go on and on and on with my list of what hasn't been done. But rather than do that, I'm going to focus on what has been done. I think the biggest thing for me this year, and it has been another learning curve, is I can't, you know, for one person, this is quite a big garden. To try and turn this entire garden around, I mean, look at it. To try and turn this entire garden around in just 3 weeks. Because that's where I was at, 3 weeks ago. If you look back at the May tour, it was still half a winter garden. Yeah, to try and turn it around in 3 weeks is impossible. With all the hours under the sun, with the best will in the world, it's impossible. I'm not going to let that happen again. Lesson learned. But I am grateful for the fact that, yeah, this has been horrid, this little patch. I did give up one day and go home, but I came back the next day, took a deep breath, got stuck in, got it finished, and changed my plan a little bit in terms of swapping these beds around. Changed the plan a little bit to accommodate this year's difficulties. Adapt and win. So yes, I hope in the next week to 2 weeks that I can get the garden finished, as it were, in terms of all the plants are in, all the structures are up, and get back to that thing of tinkering and enjoying the garden rather than slogging. But yeah, it's happening. Alright, my lovelies, I think that's been quite a long one today, so I'm going to stop burbling now, say cheerio to you all, I will see you again really soon, I hope. And as I say, over the next 1 to 2 weeks, really hope that the garden will start to change dramatically. Until then, please look after yourselves, each other, look after your gardens. Oh, and down here, look after your bees with, it's flown off, but never mind. Yeah, look after your bees with some lovely flowers. Cheerio, everyone.